Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit differently. I wanted to talk about this shadow patch that they dropped out of nowhere, mostly because it discredits my entire tier list that I just got done making for the exploration era, and I want to do a follow-up so we can talk about how things might have changed and what that might do towards my rankings, things like that, and just generally go over this pretty massive patch. For a patch that wasn't announced, this changes up a lot of things. It makes things seem like they're going to be a little more interesting, and it's going to cause a few more things to happen, right? So let's start talking about it. We're not going to read all this. I'm not going to play the video. It's a good video though. I'm not going to play it though. The first big thing here is they're adding Pangea, and at first I was like, you know what, I don't really play on Pangea normally. I usually play fractal maps and all the other Civ games, but I'm actually interested in Pangea for this game, because I think them adding Pangea in is going to change up the naval play and the distant lands mechanic quite a bit. And it's gonna make Mongolia this is a huge buff to Mongolia. It's a big buff to Mongolia, because you could just conquer the whole world and get all your points towards the Pax, or what is it, non-sufficient Orbis. You'll have more opportunity for conquest. But importantly, these little side islands, these little side island chains here, these are your distant lands on not this, but this is going to be your distant lands on a Pangea map. And that makes civs like the Chola, civs like the Mujabite, who are going to be more navally focused and trade, especially trade route focused, because it's going to be easier to get trade routes to these places, much more interesting, because, well, you're going to use your navy to conquer the distant lands now instead of using civs. And I also think it's a little bit of a buff to, or not buff, sorry, a little bit of a nerf to Spain. Spain I don't think is going to do very good on a Pangea map, because you don't have as many settlement locations to get those bonuses from distant land settlements that Spain would get. But overall, I'm really interested in a Pangea game where you move into Chola or Mujabite in the exploration era, to try that out. It might be a buff to Chola. I think their double attack boat is going to be pretty good in this situation, and I think their unique quarter is going to be really good in this Pangea situation as well. I might try that out and see how that goes. We also have some leader buffs. We're going to look at the leader buffs, leader nerfs. I'm not really interested in multiplayer. I know that the multiplayer scene exists. I think it's much bigger in Civ 6 still, and maybe if the lifespan of this game lasts, I might try some Civ 7 multiplayer, but I'm not super interested in that currently. Let's focus here on these buffs and nerfs, right? So first, Freddy. Both Freddys get a pretty large, a pretty substantial buff, in my opinion. Used to be, whenever you built a science building with Science Freddy, you got a unit, an infantry unit. When you built a culture building with Culture Freddy, you got a great work. But now it's whenever you complete a mastery or a science building. So just without building science buildings, how many masteries can you get? It's something like eight masteries or so, even more in the civic tree, I think, that you can just get from building things, or from just teching instead of building things. Plus, if you expand and you're building your buildings, you're getting so much free info. You'll never have to build a unit yourself. You'll never have to build a unit yourself whenever you do this. So it's just, I think it's really super powerful. Also, oh sorry, you don't get a culture thing from, you don't get a great work, you get an infantry. I'm sorry, I made that mistake. You get the culture from Conquest. You get the great works from Conquest with Culture Freddy. But you're getting a big buff here, and because Science Freddy gets that what is it, the Army Commander command radius increase Culture Freddy didn't get that. The great work is strong, but it's not like a super strong thing, especially in Antiquity era. It moves you through the great library tree, but it doesn't do a lot for culture, which you want to go for as Culture Freddy. So they're adding this +1 culture per age, and since it's per age, I think it's going to be really strong come exploration in modern, a little less strong than Antiquity, but you still want that culture in Antiquity. So Science Freddy, in my opinion, Science Freddy got a huge buff. Oblique Freddy got a huge buff, and Baroque Freddy got a little tiny buff. But I think this is gonna make Freddy like a pretty strong leader, much stronger than he was normally. He was pretty bottom tier, I think, but like this is gonna skyrocket him into maybe not S tier, but he's definitely high B, low A at this point. And he's going to be a nightmare on the deity difficulty because he's just going to have so much units to grind through to take over his cities. More importantly, in my opinion, is this Hattie. Hattie might have been the worst leader in the game. And I'm not so certain how much this is going to improve her, but this is an improvement. Previously, her bonus was just one culture per unique resource for imported resources. There we go. One culture per imported resource, and they've now added it as one culture per age for each unique resource. Now this is a buff. It's definitely a buff. I understand, at first I didn't understand why it wasn't one culture per age for every imported resource initially, because it seems like every other leader on launch day had that one blah 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 per age, and Hattie didn't get the per age bonus treatment, right? But then I started thinking like, oh, I just got done playing a Caymanid Xerxes game, and a Caymanid Xerxes game here I was recording that I'm gonna have to scrap because of all these changes, where I was in the exploration age and I had like 20 some trade routes and I was getting so many imported resources. That means I would be getting 2 culture per age if I was Hattie for like almost like 40-50 imported resources. So yeah, I understand that might be a little strong, but also like, why not? Just let it happen. But there's enough unique resources on the map come exploration age that this is going to be pretty powerful. That point, this is like a mid-game spike. Early game, you're not going to do so great. This is a mid-game spike, and come the modern age, this is going to help you push towards hegemony to get those artifacts a little faster. And it doesn't make Hattie like top tier. It doesn't make Hattie the best, but it does make Hattie better than garbage. And I think she was pretty much garbage overall. So I think this like gives her like, she should be the culture push. She should have a culture push, and this gives her a pretty strong culture push. Not as strong as like High Shaman Himiko, who I think is pretty pushed compared to Hattie, but it gives her something, and I like that. Maybe a Hattie trade heavy game like Egypt, Songhai into like Mughals or Buganda or something. Maybe that's like in the future for me here to try Hattie out. Moving down into Himiko High Shaman, another buff here. She already had 2 happiness per age on happiness buildings and 50% production towards happiness buildings, but they've also added influence buildings in here as well. And there's not too many influence buildings, but it also like this is going to give you faster monuments. You want faster monuments. This is great because monuments are an influence building. So that feels pretty good. You get happiness on your monument. This is going to allow her to. This is going to allow Himiko to not just turtle up in culture. She's going to be able to invade and expand. She's going to be a little warmongery, I think, here, because you're going to have a lot of happiness. You're going to have a ton of happiness to go over that settlement limit. In the exploration era, this helps you get out your dungeons, which are pretty good, and your guild halls, which are pretty good. So this is a bigger buff than you might think it is. You know, influence buildings are good buildings, and influence is a rare resource, so her getting like a not extra influence but faster influence buildings, that's pretty good. And it keeps her like happiness all the time, celebration flavor that she's got. Jose Rizal also picks up some influence, right? Influence again is one of those resources that is like super gate kept, right? It's super controlled. So a little bit of influence goes a really long way on a leader, and I think this is going to, if you're playing like this allows Jose was already kind of a wild card. You could play him into almost any civilization because it's just about the narrative events, and now he fits into even more because now he can do more with city states, which can give you even more narrative events. So this is a decent push. Again, not S tier push, but this I really like a lot of these buffs because it's not like buffing people to the moon, even Pachacudi, which we'll talk about. It's not buffing people into the moon, but it's fattening up the center, right? You still have super pushed leaders like Tubman. You have super strong leaders like I think Tecumseh is like one of the best leaders in the game. He didn't get buffed here, right? He also didn't get nerfed. But the mid-level, those sort of like, I don't know, Ben Franklin, Machiavelli level leaders, they're being added to that range. Jose Rizal now goes from the bottom to like the middle, which is good. Pachacudi got buffed last time with the food buff, but they didn't think of it as enough, so they're adding production into it too. Again, this is going to be kind of a bigger buff. I don't think it's going to make him S, but he's definitely going to be A based off of this. Cities now gain bonus production equal to 10% of that city's food. I'm thinking about doing like a Carthage. You know what? No, not Carthage. You know, the first time I saw this, I was thinking like, hey, Carthage, get a super big production base in Carthage. But no, whatever. It's better to spread that production across like 5 cities instead of just 1 city. I think like maybe Kamai finally have a room to shine here with all that food coming into Pachacudi, getting 10% of it as production. Food is one of those yields that's kind of strange because, how do I explain? Like, influence is a yield that if it's very gate kept, and if you have a little bit of influence, it feels very powerful. Culture science is like a normal, culture science and production, I think, are kind of like a normalized resource where if you have a lot of culture science and production, it feels strong. If you have a little bit of culture science and production, it feels good. Like, this is kind of where you want a yield to be. Like, a little bit of it doesn't go very far, but it feels like something, and a lot of it feels like a lot of it. Whereas influence, a little bit of influence feels like a lot of influence because it's so powerful. Food was one of those, food and gold both, I think, are one of those resources where, like, if you have a little bit of it, you don't care. If you have a lot of it, it's okay. But if you have a ton of it, that's when it really starts to pay off. And so and that's why I think like Amina doesn't feel so good right now, right? But Pachacudi, even though you got that food buff, yeah, you were getting a lot of food, but what were you doing with that food? What were you doing with those high pop cities? Your specialists are blocked. So like you can only have so many specialists. Your population doesn't affect your science. It doesn't affect your districts. Like food in Civ 6 was important because your population gave you science, your population gave you culture, and most importantly, your population gave you districts. And food was important in Civ 5 and Civ 4, again, because population gave you yields. But in this game, population doesn't really do much until you get to specialists, and then you can put population down into specialists, and that's really good. But then you can only get like 3 specialist slots per tile, per city, so food is capped. So what if Pachacudi has a ton of food? But now that he has food, he's also getting production, which means you're getting units, most importantly units, which means you're getting your science buildings faster. I don't think this is a huge buff. Like, I don't see this and I go, oh my god, he's the best now. Because honestly, what are you building that you weren't already building? You were already building things, but now you're building them faster, which gives you a bit of that snowball potential forward. They say it's a big power boost, but I don't think it's going to make Pachacudi feel like amazing, but it will make high food civs like the Kumai, like the Inca, they're gonna feel better. They're gonna definitely feel better because you'll see a noticeable difference between those Civ games and other Civ games, where like generally beforehand it was like, yeah, I got a ton of food, but so what? I could put down a specialist. But now I think Now I think Pachacudi is gonna feel like something. Maybe like an upper B tier. Xerxes came into here, added 10 range. They said that like, oh, people were settling in order to consider trade range. I really didn't consider that at all. This is a buff. It's definitely a buff. You get more trade range, but really, like, who even really cares that much about this? I don't really think it was needed. I don't think it was needed. I didn't really, and whenever I play it came into Xerxes games, I don't go like, oh man, I wish I had just a little tiny bit more trade range. I mean, yeah, in exploration, when I want to get like into the distant lands, then I care. But maybe that's what they're thinking about there. But yeah, it's something. Now let's go to the civs. Some of them got nerfed, some of them got buffed. I think Bulgaria got nerfed a little bit, right? The Tarkhan commander now allows units to pillage for 1 movement instead of no movement. That's significant. You went from free to 100% increase. That's a significant nerf, because I don't think Bulgaria was like the best civ in the game, but you could play them in a certain way to make like the modern era take like 2 turns. Bulgaria, the Tarkhan commander, that pillage movement, it slows them down quite a bit. And they swapped their ability with one of their traditions. Originally, their ability, Crumb's Dynasty, gave you food when you pillaged, and then this false retreat tradition gave you production. And now it looks like, if I understand this correctly, Crumb's Dynasty is going to give you production on pillaging, and your tradition is going to give you food on pillaging. And they did this really honestly to make Bulgaria behave into modern. It's a nerf. It's a significant nerf. The pillage movement points nerf is significant. You still end up with both food and production, but I think like early into the era, that food is a little bit better to get like a kickstart on a lot of your settlements, turning newly made settlements into cities and things. I don't know. I'd have to play around with this. I didn't find Bulgaria to be like the most fun civ in the world either. But this is a needed nerf, I guess. I have seen people go nuts. This is a needed nerf. Great Britain gets buffed. You go from, whenever you use an antiquarian, you go from 5 culture for every tile in your capital to 20 culture for every tile in your capital. And that's pretty good. 5 culture felt like nothing. 20 culture is gonna feel like something. Whenever I would play Britain and I would use my unique explorer, I would feel like sometimes I would have like 20-30 tiles in the capital, or not 20-30. Well, yeah, I'd have like a, let's say we had like a population 30 city, they were using 20 some tiles, 5 times 20, I get like 100 culture or something. Right now, when we do this, we're going to get 500 culture, 400 culture, things like that. It's a big significant buff, especially the earlier you start getting artifacts and the faster it pushes you towards hegemony. You're going to feel this, you're going to notice this. And if you want to play like a weird mixture of a domination and exploration game, or like culture game, it's going to help you push through your ideologies. When ideologies actually become important in this game, this is going to feel pretty good for it. Culture in modern, right now, it's not important. In my opinion, the more culture you have in the modern era right now doesn't truly matter that much. Modern era is all about gold, getting gold in production so that you can buy your units, you can do all those things. But when those ideologies start to matter, which may be next DLC, might be next DLC, whatever time it is, we know it's going to happen. Those DLCs are going to come. This is going to feel good then. But more importantly, I like this. Financial Center now gives you 2 gold and 2 science for connected settlement. It used to just be 2 gold. I was in the middle of recording a Britain game with Xerxes when this happened, and the gold felt really good. Modern era gold feels good. That's why the Mughals feel good, because you skyrocket into so much gold, and gold is buying things that are so impactful in the modern era. You can speed up the game. You can buy your factories, right? You can buy your aerodromes, you can buy your airplanes. So gold is really important in the modern era because I feel like production costs are boosted. So this was already good, but they just adding this science per connected settlement as a little treat, as a little tasty little snack, on top of that, it's good. This is gonna make Great Britain feel a little bit more all aroundy. I think Great Britain, I agree with them. Great Britain focused heavily on production and gold, and I liked that flavor for them. It's sort of like a similar to America flavor, where America's focused on production and gold and sort of like military units. Great Britain was production and gold and culture units. Now they're going to have culture, they're going to have gold, they're going to have science, and they're going to have production. So they're going to feel a little like samey to a lot of civs. And that's because they're DLC Civ. They have to push that DLC. I'm sure they're not making the money that they wanted to make on that DLC. They got to push it, so they're giving us every single yield. So I like it, but I'm also a little disappointed because it's taking, in my opinion, the flavor off of the Civ just because they're a DLC Civ. Notice that the nerf here to Bulgaria is also not like completely removing one of these things or tweaking the numbers on the pillaging things. It's just switching which one you carry forward into the future, and you're making us carry the food forward into the future instead of the production forward into the future. So because it's a DLC Civ, we paid money for it. Big buff to the Khmer though. I like this. Khmer already had a passive immunity to floods during the Antiquity era, and it used to be just like a civic bonus, but now it's going to move forward into future eras as long as you have your beret. The beret felt useless. I never built one and said it was good. Now I'm going to build them. If I'm playing the Khmer, I'm going to build them because I hate floods, and now the beret makes you immune to flood damage. We like that. We like this. It's good. Mujappoy, it also gets a pretty big buff here. The Pura unique quarter gives you an empire-wide discount to upgrading towns to cities. I don't think the Mujappoy needed like a buff. They just buffed them because the unique quarter didn't have a passive effect. Almost all unique quarters, Normans also had this problem. Almost all unique quarters in the game have a passive effect attached to them, but the Mujappoy Pura didn't have one. And now it does. It makes your towns turn into cities cheaper, which encourages you to spread. It encourages you to Rex out quite a bit with the Mujappoy. And the Mujappoy don't really have the happiness bonuses to do that easily, but the Mujappoy bonuses to gold and culture are already really strong, and it could help you get there. I'd like to try a game here to see, like, you're getting already a ton of gold, so is it really changing too much? Because, you know, you were already using a lot of gold anyway. But maybe now you can upgrade to towns into cities and buy naval units, things like that. We'll give it a shot. I don't think it's a big buff, but I think it's a... Well, I don't think it was a needed buff. I don't think it's a huge buff, but I think it's a buff that doesn't break the game, and it's a buff that just lets Mujappoy do what it was already doing a little bit better. Normans, Donjon unique quarter now gives 10% production towards training cavalry units, which is again Normans just doing something that they were already doing a little bit better. This is the sort of buff I like to see. Not a flavor changer, just a little bit of a tweak towards what they were already doing. I think the Great Britain is a little bit of a flavor changer, but I feel like this is keeping the same flavor and just increasing the spiciness. Inca, the terrace farm unique improvement gets redesigned. This is fantastic for the Inca. I said in my tier list that you never are able to put terrace farms down adjacent to mountains because you're always going to want to put your happiness buildings there. You're always going to want to put your culture buildings there. You're going to want to build Machu Picchu and put quarters all around it. But now your terrace farm doesn't need a mountain tile. Yes, please. No longer needs a mountain tile. That's really good. It can be built on any rough terrain that doesn't have a feature or river. And it gives the 4 food, which it already gave, but adjacent buildings get +1 gold adjacency. So there's spreading gold around to quite a few civs. It might be a little dangerous to the gold flavor civs if everybody has gold. But yeah, it's not a huge gold bonus. I don't know. I don't see the Inca as a gold civ. I would much rather have seen this to be like a production bonus. Just make this a production bonus. Give it a +1 production bonus instead of a gold bonus. I know historically speaking, the Inca had gigantic trade networks, but I feel like the social structure of the Inca, the Mitla and things like Mita, I think is what the social system was called, would lend more towards a production system than to a gold system. And it would tie in pretty well with Pachacuti's new 10% of the food becomes production. I think putting this as a gold bonus is like a little tiny buff. It's not a huge buff, but it's a flavor detriment, because the Inca aren't a gold civ. The Inca are a food and production feeling civ. I wish they would have rethought this. But yeah, I think it makes the terrace farm better. We like having terrace farms down, and it gives us a little more options. Just consider what yield you're giving people, I think. Russia, I cannot pronounce this word. Provisionne, unique ability, gives you 1 culture and 1 science on districts doubled in tundra. I think previously it was culture on districts, science on districts in the tundra. Now you're getting the science and culture everywhere, and if you're in the tundra, which you want to be, you're getting 2, and that's pretty good. It gives Russia its tundra flavor a little more concretely. Play into the tundra and you're going to benefit. The Obshina also gives 2 culture in tundra, and most importantly, this is the change, 2 food to all farms. It used to be farms adjacent to the Obshina, but that would be a difficulty because, like they say, modern settlements usually have very limited rural tiles. So this allows you to place 1 and benefit no matter where your rural tiles are in the city, and that feels good. And it again plays into that tundra theme, which gives Russia its flavor so well. Finally, here for the Civ buffs, we have Songhai, which now, like, finally, I don't know why the Songhai treasure fleet difference wasn't listed on the Civ choice screen. It was hidden. Mongolia is right there. Non-sufficient orbits can be done at home. Because the Songhais was hidden in the civic tree, it wasn't listed on that when you choose the Songhai, so you didn't know unless somebody told you or you played them before. And now that gets put right up there up front, so you know. Most importantly, though, you get 1 point from the treasure fleet, now becomes 2 points from the treasure fleet, and that allows them, it doesn't fix the treasure fleet mechanic, but it allows them to finish it more quickly. So once you reached shipbuilding, you were getting in per settlement with river, and you needed at least 3 navigable river settlements to get the Songhai. If you weren't playing like a Mina, then you would go like, okay, every 8 turns I'm getting 3 treasure fleet points. It takes like 30 treasure fleet points to finish the legacy path, which means after I get shipbuilding, I have to wait like 80 turns, but by the time you get shipbuilding, it's already like 50 turns into the game. This cuts this in half. It'll take you like 40 turns or less now to complete the treasure fleet, which is, it feels better. The Tajiro is now cheaper to produce. That's their merchant with slower scaling on their costs. Okay, it doesn't do much. I don't think this does too much. It does allow you to build more merchants. Songhai, I feel like they're Mali, and I know they're in the same region, but they weren't the same group. But I feel like they're making Songhai this game's Mali. Unique ability, Songhai gains 3 gold for each active trade route. This is new. It's just on top of what you're already getting. So Songhai originally had like increased resource slots, and what was it? I have it right here. What is it? Your trade ships can't be plundered. Yeah, who cares about that? Now you're getting 3 gold for each active trade route. Poor Amina's flavor keeps getting like pushed further and further and further down. Everybody's got gold. If you look here, like everybody's got gold now somewhere. It makes gold feel a little less valuable, but it makes people like Amina feel a little less valuable. But this is a big buff to the Songhai. It makes them attractive to play. You were only playing Songhai really because you wanted the treasure fleets. Now you're going to get a lot of gold on top of those treasure fleets. So, you know, it's something worth doing. Another important thing that I saw here, yeah, AI is now more thoughtful when placing unique quarters. That's really important because I'm so sick of like conquering an AI city and just having no unique quarters, or just having unique buildings in different places. They also changed, where is it? Whenever you raise a city, it doesn't count towards war support. That's really important. We can now raising penalty no longer grants free war support. It now just costs influence per turn. That's okay. This is one that I'm interested in. Secondary unit combat strength effects from all resources have been removed. Does this mean, like, what does this mean? A thing I would ask the patch note team is to put like actual notes, like what was it baseline, what does it change to now? Additional bonuses against particular unit types ended up just making some units like infantry underpowered in most situations. We're looking into other ways to differentiate unit types with it. So like, does this mean like cavalry doesn't like buff horses now? What's going on? I need to get into a game and look at this. I think this is like a hidden thing that they didn't talk about it in the video. They didn't talk about this in the video way up here. I think this is something that they're tweaking and they're working on, and they should tell us a little bit more information about this so that we can understand. All these other things are not really that big things that I think we should really go over too much. It's mostly just like hot fixes. But yeah, all in all, I think this is like a pretty decent buff patch. Some things get nerfed, but not really nerfed. DLC, right? Some things get buffed, but not super pushed. Hatshepsut. Except for Freddy. I think Freddy got super pushed. I think he's the big winner here. Everybody's talking like, oh, Pachacootie, so much production. No, Freddy just gets stuff for free. You don't even need the production. So this is the guy to watch out for, especially if you play multiplayer. But yeah, I think this is a good patch. I'm happy to see them do it. I'm glad that it wasn't mementos that got nerfed and buffed. And I'm glad the nerfs and buffs weren't like gigantic, devastating things. I like these little tweaks going through. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.